And within the university system, no, I must place the unions in proper participation.
Hello and welcome to the program. Now, one thing that is becoming the trend in Nigeria today as a result of the economic recession the country is going through is that the situation is making everyone become economic experts. If I won't be exaggerating, virtually the 170 million people of this country have suddenly become economic experts who know the fastest and best way to get this country out of recession. For instance, after resuming from their long and, if you asked me, unproductive recess, some senators are now suggesting that the only way out of the current economic recession is for the president to sack the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udo Udoma, and the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun. Now, how that would get us out of recession, I do not know. The latest trending topic over this whole issue of recession now is the sale of Nigeria's national assets. A number of high-profile Nigerian politicians, like Senate President Bukola Saraki, is calling for the sale of some national assets to raise money for the country. Saraki said the executive must raise capital from asset sales and other sources to shore up foreign reserves. This, he believes, will calm investors, discourage currency speculation, and stabilize the economy. Now, the measures he suggested include sale of NLNG holdings, reduction of government share in upstream oil joint venture operation, government stake in financial institutions like African Finance Corporation, and the privatization and concessions of major and regional airports and refineries. Now, businessman Aliko Dangote and the governor of Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, are also supporting the sale of national assets to get the country out of recession. Former CBN governor and emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, has also backed the call for the sale of some national assets. In his words, quote now, "The immediate oxygen that this country needs is foreign exchange, and portfolio investors are important." Now, do we really have a flexible exchange rate? That is what we need to look at. These things require courage, because some of the decisions you would take would seem to fly in your face in the first week or two. We need to sell down some oil assets and sell down some refineries in a transparent manner that gives you value. You even have the option of buying them back later, but basically it helps to raise revenue. As expected, this calls for the sale of some national assets has been greeted with cheers, of course, in some quarters, and knocks by some Nigerians. Chairman of the Revenue and Mobilization and Fiscal Commission said it is unwise for government to take such steps. Shatima Abba Gana said assets like Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Company and NNPC are cash cows that should not be traded away. Many believe previous sale of government assets have not yielded anything for the government, with the deal shrouded in secrecy, while government cronies end up buying the assets at ridiculous amounts. Joining me now to discuss this issue further is energy expert and policy analyst Bala Zaka, and of course a civil rights lawyer, Mr. Fred Lattimore. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Mr. Zaka. It seems we're in a panic mode now. That's the way, that's what appears to be coming true. We're in a panic mode. We just have to raise money by any means possible. And that's the reason why we're discussing the sale of these national assets at a time when, if you look at, especially I'm talking about the oil industry now, where you are a player, you look at the oil industry, the value of assets in that industry at this time are at their lowest.
Correct. Just like because you say we are in a panic mode, I want to start this way. The timing is wrong. The panic is unnecessary. National asset is national security. National security guarantees national economic security. And if you have economic security, you are likely to have good economic growth and development. And once that happens, then that means you can have political power. And without political power, you can never stand amongst the Committee of Nations and discuss or talk. So if anybody will tell you to sell away your national assets, especially productive national assets, it's just like telling you to do away with your national security. Once you do away with your national security, you can never guarantee your economic security. And what happens to your political strength? from that angle alone, that will tell you. As we speak, like you rightly also said, some describe the oxygen we need almost now. But strange enough again, the only oxygen that has to do with the Nigerian economy is the oil and gas industry as we speak. Even if you talk about, some people will say non-oil revenues.
For now,
like,
it is.
Yes, people say even non-oil revenues like custom duties and the rest. Check it and see. A huge chunk
of
the duties actually from heavy equipment from the oil and gas industry, basically steel, which during drilling activities we call casings. You know, so we have to be very, very careful. Do people actually offload their stock when the market is very low? I come from a place where we probably actually have the best ginger in the whole world as I speak to you. Within Nigeria, you actually buy more of the ginger during dull periods and you sell when the price is high. So on just that basis, I'm likely to be at variance.
All right, I'm going to come back to you. Let me come to you, Mr. Latimer.
Yes.
Are you surprised that this is even coming up in the first place? And anyway, for a while in the past, we've always had people, and it would appear there had always been a consensus in the past that, you know, we should sell these national assets, that they're not making money, that we're spending, that the government is spending so much money to keep them running. So why would it not be right to sell them now?
Well, I think my brother said something very important. You as a businessman, what makes you a consolidated businessman? It's your assets and investments, what you have to offer at any given rate. If you want to go to the bank today, say you need money, they ask for your collateral. And what is collateral? Is your investment, what you have already, either tangible or intangible, as the case may be. So, if we get to sell our assets as a nation, where are we heading to? We sold Nigeria Airways. What has that given to us today? We sold Nitel, fine, we have GSM and all of that, but where is the national, telecommunication company? Nitel. Do you have them around us? We have other networks. Where is the Nigerian government network or homegrown that is inspired by the government? So if you keep saying that, let's sell our assets, fine. If Nigeria has to survive by, government selling their assets, it's okay by me. But the aftermath effect, like he rightly said, what is going to be the both long-term and the long,
And there's no guarantee that the sale of these assets, you sell
them,
the money you raise will get this country
you're going to get things done. The ones we did with the privatization and all of that, where is the money? Who bought those assets? The same people who are telling you not to sell were the same people that bought. Either they bought directly or they got friends from the international community or from somewhere else to buy those assets. And they have interest in those assets. And they are making more money. So, but that is not even what drives me crazy. What really annoys me is we are an oil-producing nation, probably the largest, the biggest in Africa. And of course, we have not been able to cater for our domestic problems. It's okay by me. Our youths don't have jobs. Okay, fine. But now we are saying also that we don't even have enough reserves to keep us as a nation going. It's sad. Where is the money?
And that's why some of these people are suggesting sell and then use the money to shore up the reserves.
You shore up, you are going down, you are finished.
Mr. Zaka, just as you said, some of these assets are, they're more or less like our national security. Let's take NLNG, for instance. We can't say that venture is not productive for Nigeria, that we're not making money from that venture. I remember just not quite long ago, the dividend.
Bailed us out just with the dividend. You see, when you talk about economic restructuring mechanisms, right, you can apply them actually sectorally. You have what we call commercialization. You have liberalization. You have deregulation and you have privatization. They actually mean different things. Just like when you look at our currency, You have currency devaluation. It's actually different from currency depreciation. It's actually different from currency redenomination. So when you're talking about the economy and you're looking at these sectors, you have to be very careful. Look at the downstream sector. Till today, I'm sorry to say this, I didn't support removal of subsidy. I don't support it today, and I will not support it tomorrow in the case of Nigeria, because Nigerian economy is a very weak economy. Our economy is fragile and benign. In a very weak and a benign economy, what you do is you protect the economy. You don't subject the economy to imperialism or capitalism. What you do is you protect the economy. So if you look at what we are saying, it's just basically saying that I am a landlord with a very good and high valued property, but just because I ran into a problem, then I will call you my tenant and tell you that I want to sell my property to you, and I will become your tenant. And tomorrow, by the time my conditions improve, I will want to come back and collect. Does it make sense?
Yeah, and that answers the question of buyback that the former emir suggested.
It won't work. It doesn't work that way. Once you lose what we call controlling share, controlling authority, you are done and dusted. But you're talking about a country. How can you hand over your economic destiny into the custody of a private person and hope to get it back? You will be sending your people into slavery or into captivity. It doesn't work that way anywhere. And that was why, with due respect, I wouldn't want to say they are wrong, but I will 100% be at variance. You are saying we should go and sell the JVs, values,
and sell to this
when you talk about joint venture, that is where the strength of Nigeria is. It's only that Nigeria has not been respecting cash call venture relationship. And if anybody tells you that we can sell these national, positive and productive national assets and eventually get them back, it's indirectly telling people like me that we will always want to continue with that gangsterism approach of not respecting contracts. And if you don't respect contracts, nobody will respect you. You will lose your goodwill and you will lose your integrity. Nigeria doesn't know that lack of respect for contract is dangerous. And it's also like me telling you, I want to sell my car to you, and you will be using that car, it becomes yours. Once in a while, I will be hiring the car from you. And once my condition improves, I will collect the car back. The only way I can do that is to insult the relationship of contracts. And there are certain things we continue to do internally, but we can't try them when we subject ourselves to international corporations and international community. And that's why a lot of people say Nigeria is a great country of great people, but a very bad example. If people say you are great, but you are a bad example, then you cannot be a political model, you cannot be a social model, and you can never be an economic model.
Okay, I want us to take a very short break. We'll come back and continue this discussion. Well, we're going on a short break now, and we'll be back to continue this discussion. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions. All right, welcome back. We're still discussing the sale of national assets, and I still have Mr. Bala Zaka here and Mr. Fred Latimer. Gentlemen, thank you for continuing to stay on this program. Just before we went on break, we were actually talking about, selling these assets at this time. And I was asking you, I said, look, let's face it, we've always said these assets, that some of them we should actually sell. And if some people are saying, "What, sell them now?" Then you know, there's no difference anyway, because all this while we had always said government has no business being in business.
Well, like I said this before we went to break, that selling our national asset is different completely from the regulation that we were talking about some years back. The regulation that private sectors can come in, then why government play.
Could we say maybe what government should be considering is, instead of outright sale, maybe we should be talking about concessioning some of these assets?
Exactly. Or like what Bukola Saraki was saying, and the former former governor of CBN, if you are going to make the contract for the sale of those assets, if it's going to cash in such a way that will give us, that will have a reversionary interest, at the end of the day, I'll be a little bit comfortable.
I don't get it.
I don't know. I say if they are selling or lease, I don't know how they are going to couch the agreement for us to be able to have it back within a period of time. Then okay, that is okay by me. But outright sale, that okay, when you now have money much later, you can go and buy it back from the man who you sold this assets to. That won't work. So if we say we are selling, we are selling.
Perhaps maybe the agreement should be couched in such a way that,
that
you know,
okay, for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years, this asset will be with you. It can yield, you know, interest for you as the temporary owner. Okay, then at the end of that 10 years, you know, it will reverse back to us as a nation. You understand what I'm saying? So the agreement is operational. It will get to a point of that 10 years. Then it will reverse. But if you say no, there's no reversionary interest in it. You see, anytime you have money, you can come and buy them back, but without such condition. What if you come back and the person says,
if you're coming to buy back, you certainly would not be buying them.
Of course, at
the same
that
price,
rate, yeah. Of course. I'm going to give you an offer. There's going to be offer and acceptance again. We are back to the principles of the ordinary simple contract, you know, buying and selling. I said, okay, I'm selling like this. So no, I don't have that kind of money. If you don't have money, you can go. I'm sorry. Because that is the amount that I need for this asset for now. And Nigeria will say, oh, we don't have the money. It's gone. So, but if that is the case, we have sold these assets as a nation. Is it adding to us, or we are just going down the mall? And by the way, if we sell these assets and we add the money to what we have in the reserve right now, will the money be sufficient to stabilize the economy and make our economy become viable? The answer might just be no. And you will keep that money there and be looking at it.
Economists can never give you a categorical
Good. So you are still going to go back to that same reserve and be taking money. And once that money goes down again to the base where it were before we sold those assets, where are we going to again? What are we going to sell? Our children, our babies, maybe government cars and, you know, guest houses? So we must think properly on how to get out of this economy. I think the only solution right now we have is that this crop of inexperienced gentlemen in this cabinet, they should be flushed out.
No, but is it a question of inexperience?
So that when you get...
I have a problem with that. Who then is inexperienced?
Of course, we can look around. Nigeria has a lot of brilliant people
If you ask me, there are brilliant people in the cabinet as well.
Okay.
I mean, they're brilliant. I don't think there's any magic wand.
What is their pedigree? Like we had Okojo-Iweala here. Of course, everybody knows.
But should it be a question?
She's not a Holy Spirit. but even at that,
should it be a question of pedigree?
This is a woman that is well known in the international.
But let me ask you: should it be a question of pedigree? Because let's face it, the bottom line is that your country hasn't got money, and what used to give your country money no longer gives your country the amount of money it used to give. So there's no magic wand to it. I don't think it's really a question of, you know, whether one person has experience or that person hasn't got the experience.
But if you have capable hands, what might happen is, you know, bring the alternatives.
It's my opinion.
Plan A, Plan B, Plan C.
I think they are capable hands.
But right now, this team, what plans do they have? How many options do they have?
It won't be fair to say they don't have plans. But let me come to you, Mr. Zaka. You see, these assets, and I keep saying it, that most times you sell when an asset is not productive. It's not making anything for you. NLNG, to a large extent, we can say is productive. it's not a drain on the resources of this country. NNPC, well, whether we like it or not, it's still generating something, even though a lot of people would have some kind of misgivings about the way that corporation has actually been run over the years. But it just doesn't make sense to sell things that you do not have a problem with. As he said, concession them, let them run it for a while. But you let people run something for a while when it's become crystal clear that you cannot run them and that they are not profitable, they are not making anything for you. And it's not the case here.
See, first of all,
for some of the assets, not all of them.
No businessman will go into real business contracts with you out of sympathy. So if we think because we cannot manage our economy, because we are broke, because we self-inflicted ourselves with economic, political, and social injuries, we can give out our major productive national assets that make us to still be maintaining the reasonable integrity on the international pedestal. If we think like that, then we're getting it wrong. First of all, let me tell you one thing probably a lot of people have not thought through. The moment you lose that controlling authority, even your value, your integrity, your seat at OPEC level will be lost. Immediately you lose that controlling authority, the gas cartel, which is the equivalent of OPEC, called Gas Exporting Countries Forum, your name will no longer be there as Nigeria.
But is
somebody
is that not just some would say
I'm coming.
National pride
I'm coming. It's not a question of national pride. You will lose that. You don't have controlling share. The person can decide tomorrow and flow in all the personnel of all the national of his country. I don't know whether we're getting something right here. Universal concepts are universal concepts. If universal concepts that are not universally acceptable are failing in your country, it's not the fault of the concept, but the fault of your country. Let me give you an example. Typical example is democracy. If you look at the continent of Africa, there are some countries where the leaders have been winning election throughout all the democratic cycles they've had. If it is 5 years democracy cycle, one president has probably been in power for 30 years. That means the 6th democratic cycle, he has been winning. Will you say because of that you will throw away democracy as a concept? No. The problem in that country are those political pathogens that you need to clean out of the system. They are political toxins. So it's the same way. Take that now and look at the economic aspect. Even the subsidy. Subsidy is a universal economic concept. Universal economic cushioning concept during moments of pains. So when subsidy was introduced on petroleum products, it was introduced as a universally accepted concept. So if that subsidy concept was failing, it is the economic marauders, traitors, and vampires that you will get out of the system, not the subsidy as a concept. The same thing happened with the amnesty. Amnesty is a political reconciliation and integrative concept. So when you are applying your amnesty in Niger Delta and it wasn't working, what was happening was you were having traitors, betrayers along your pipeline of wheel of progress. They were those you needed to clean up, not to say I will throw away amnesty. I am just going this way so that people will look at it from different angles. Universal concepts are universal concepts. A country that is in difficulty, a country whose economy is weak, a country whose minimum wage is very low, needs to be protective. If you want to be protective, you cannot deregulate. You have to protect your economy. You're talking about a country where everybody knows that what grows a country is GDP, gross domestic product. And that simply means the monetary values of goods and services that you produce every year
in the country.
And it is a function of consumer index, investment index, government expenditure, and net export. Quickly, in terms of consumer index, people have been fired, people have lost their jobs, disposable income power has been eroded by inflation. So consumer index, that C, is low or weak or zero. It will affect your GDP. When you look at investment, you're talking about investment, which is the I factor now. We can't be talking about foreign direct investment when we know that the business climate hostilities are high here. That is one. We should start thinking of local direct investors or investment, because even the foreign direct investors that will come in, if they come here and the currency, the dollar is falling, it will affect the naira they will be generating here
in this case, so some of those who might show interest in buying some of these assets are local investors.
No, they are local investors, but I will tell you, at the end of the day, everything about them, because it's not in national interest, everything will go down the drain. Then when you look at government expenditure, the government of this country is weak and poor now. So some of us will not even advocate for capital expenditure because we are in difficult moments. But what happens to your net export? The net export that should be positive is basically talking about your export must be more than your import for you to have a positive net export. But today, Nigeria is more of an importing nation, and that means our net export is negative. So your consumer index is low, investment mechanisms and characteristics and indices are low, government expenditure is probably non-existent, and your net export is low.
And that's why they're saying
and even negative.
So
if you have that, why won't your GDP be down? So let me just hit you directly on this selling of asset. Considering what we have today as external reserve, let's even assume you sell all these assets that we are talking about, which should never happen, even in our dream. By the time you get that value and you add it to what we have as external into our external reserve, will it even be up to what President Obasanjo left in the coffers of our external reserves? And this tells you now it is the creativity, the focus, and the visionary approaches of leaders that grow economies. When Obasanjo left, from that time to now, even if it will just take 4 years to build one refinery, in fact, let's say 2 democratic years of 8 years to build one refinery, from 1999 to now, we should have been having at least 2 internally functional refineries. That is what will guarantee freeing you from externalities and foreign exchange. And any country with endowment of international commodity, of international reputation like oil and gas, any country that is positioned to be a continental hub, the way Nigeria is positioned, and that country cannot bring itself internally out of the economic woods, that country will one day be consigned to the dustbin of history. May it never happen.
Amen. May it never happen. It's on that note that we have to end this discussion. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And well, we just have to wait and see. It's still developing. It's not as if any decision has been taken, but it's quite. It's a bit worrying that this suggestion is coming from.
It's killing the spirit.
From very high up, from high up, and let's just wait and see what happens, and if the executive would buy this whole idea. I believe we've not had that. We've certainly not had the last on this.
In this case, we mustn't bite the bullet. We mustn't bite the bullet.
Nigerians will continue to react. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue the discussion on another level. Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on DEJI360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.